All right, so we have some news, kind of. I'm a little bit late on this one. Obviously, it broke yesterday. At first, I wasn't gonna make a video about it, but then decided, it's the off season. We got, it's something to talk about. Tom Brady signed a big deal with Fox to be their lead analyst, as in their color commentator, after he retires. Now, it's an interesting thing that's happened where, he's still playing, but already signs the deal. Fox, obviously, they got Joe Buck and Troy Aikman poached from them, so they needed guys, I guess, and kind of makes you wonder, what are they going to do until Tom Brady takes over? Although I guess, you can put someone in that role, and then whoever that ends up being, if you move them off of that role later on, you still have other spots because obviously they have so many games to call. So it's not like you would lose your job necessarily. So, whereas like Monday Night Football, basically those are just the guys. So that's one interesting thing. A couple things to note here. I think, for one, there is some talk about how does this affect actually the football side of things itself. Would Fox really be willing to throw that much money at Tom Brady just simply to, if Brady's going to play for another 3 years, for example? Gronkowski said he could play till he's 50. I don't know about that, but, again, I'm not going to doubt Brady. I'm never going to suggest when Brady is going to retire because he's 44 and, led the league in basically every category last year, at least in terms of bulk stats. So, but that being said, a lot of people speculated, could this mean that this is Brady's last year? Was that kind of a, hey, don't tell anybody, but this is going to be my last year? I think no. I don't know why Brady wouldn't just come out and say it's his last year if it really is his last year. I think what this says is that Brady knows it could be his last year and maybe is leaning towards that, and Fox knows that it could be Brady's last year and is maybe leaning towards that. To me, that's all I think it is. It's possible that this is his last year, but again, where's the evidence, right? We can't just jump to conclusions here. There has to be some sort of evidence to fully suggest that that's the case. Otherwise, it's just a theory, which it's fine to theorize, but that's all it is just a theory. Yeah, so that's kind of my thought about the football side of things. In terms of the actual, I guess, football entertainment side of things, with Brady going into the broadcast booth, my first reaction is I think he's going to be really good at this. I think he is someone who, listen, I've been lucky enough to have Brady as my team's favorite quarterback, and I've really enjoyed every interview I've heard of him and stuff. He seems like he's actually surprisingly entertaining person. I think a lot of people sort of, I always kind of viewed Brady, especially early on in his career, as an incredible quarterback who's kind of boring. I don't know if that's really true, and I think a lot of people have mentioned that once Brady moved to Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay is a lot more willing to allow you to just say what's on your mind more. The Patriots like to keep you a little bit more, keep things under wraps, which is, I totally understand the logic there, although they've had their personalities as well. At least that's the narrative, is that the Patriots don't want you talking much. Once Brady has kind of, at least whether it's he talks more or just more of a spotlight shines brighter on him now that he's left the Patriots, whatever it is, his personality has been pretty entertaining. I feel like I've typically enjoyed him in interviews and things like that. And he's obviously someone who definitely understands the game very well. He's someone who, listen, the idea with Brady, right, is that he is this guy who, the thing people say, which I don't know how true it is, but the thing people say is that he's not the most talented guy, but just is such a smart player and has such great instincts. That's what's allowed him to win so much. I think he's really talented as well. I think that gets underrated almost with Brady, just how good of an arm talent he has. But that's, again, different conversation altogether. So with him in the broadcast booth, being able to point out these little things that, us might not be able to notice, that could be really cool. Now, we saw it with Tony Romo and how awesome that was. Hopefully, Brady could do something similar. A couple things to mention is, for one, Romo clearly takes his job as a broadcaster very seriously. He's clearly someone who does a lot of work, and that's how he's able to sort of predict some of these plays before they're happening, is largely through just, grinding through tape and things like that to figure out this stuff. So that's obviously something that maybe, Brady will do. Maybe he won't. Who knows? If you're getting that kind of money, you better work hard at it, I would think. And the other interesting aspect is there is a scenario what if Tom Brady sucks at this? That is possible, right? What if he's not good at it? There is a difference between being a great quarterback or even being great in interviews versus being a great color commentator. It's a hard job. Even just for me personally, when I've done those, streams where I live stream the games, it gets really difficult to like keep things going throughout the course of a game. Now, just personally for me, when I've done those things in my small experience, one of the more difficult parts of that is trying to keep people entertained during the commercials, which obviously you don't have to do on TV, but it's still really, really hard to pull something like that off. And obviously, I have the luxury of being able to say whatever I want. When you're there, you kind of have to keep things a certain way. Very tight ship. It's a very difficult job. So there's a very real chance that there's a learning curve here. And for a learning curve, by giving someone, I mean, Brady's going to make more money with this contract than he did in the NFL. Like, that's just crazy to think about. But Brady's made around $300 million in the NFL, and the contract he's getting, I have the exact numbers right here, actually. So what he made in the NFL was $296.5 million, and his new contract is 10 years, $375 million. So half the time and twice the money. This is according to Tom Pelissero. So that's just, I mean, right away, you're like, okay, this is kind of a big risk. My thought with Fox is this something you have to do necessarily? And I do wonder if you're paying him that much, is he also going to get like some sort of show along with this as well? Are we going to see Tom Brady on we're going to see Tom Brady on Colin Cowherd? But probably, right? Will we see Tom Brady interact with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp? I just sort of thought about that right now. But if they're in the same network, like, we probably would, right? I feel like I've seen Troy Aikman and Shannon Sharp talk to Colin Cowherd on occasion. I mean, Shannon Sharp works there. But, you've seen some of these crossovers. Could we see a Tom Brady crossover? That would be wild. That's something I just thought of, but that would be incredible. Please let that happen. I'm very much looking forward to that if that happens. But as a whole, I think it's just cool for football. That's kind of my main thing about it. I think it's just cool. We've never seen Michael Jordan call games, right? Wayne Gretzky has done a lot of, media stuff, I feel like, but he's never, I don't believe he's ever called games either. So that's another, you typically don't see these all-time greats go into broadcasting like that. They might take like a more of a cushy gig of just being someone who does a halftime show or something every now and then that you'll see with these all-time greats. But even that, it seems like a lot of the greats kind of just fade back into the background or work on business or things like that. It's cool to see Brady do this, and I'm assuming a big chunk of it was the money. Everyone says, Brady doesn't care about the money. Like, listen, I don't know, everyone values money differently. If you have over if you're getting offered over $300 million, it's a good chance you're going to take that deal no matter what the job is. That's just kind of how I think about that. So, yeah, as a whole, I think just really good stuff from, really good stuff here. Cool to see Tom Brady, being in the broadcast booth. I think I'll be good at it, and I think it's just an interesting scenario. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this? Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.